We're here today to talk about XR and AI tools for counselors. And it is for counselors, but it's also more than that. It's for your students, it's for anyone in education, whether you're a teacher or an educator, to give you a tool to empower you to, make your lives a little easier. So we'll dig in first with updates in XR and in AI. So we'll talk a little bit more about the industry currently right now to kind of set that common ground. Then we're going to go into unlocking virtual tours with Campus 360, free XR and AI tools, followed by just a brief Q&A session. So we will begin with updates in XR and AI. Now, before we really dig into things, the kind of nitty gritty, let's all kind of get on a common ground. I'm sure we're all familiar with AR, VR, AI with these terms, but let's really dig into the definitions here so that going forward, everything just makes sense. So augmented reality is a term you're going to hear me talking about, also referred to as AR. And what this means is it's a virtual element that is being layered on top of a physical element of the real world. So that could be hard to conceptualize. The best way to think about it is if you've ever used Snapchat or you've seen your student using Snapchat or Pokemon Go, it's using some sort of technology, whether it's your camera app to put, maybe it could be like a filter to augment your look. That would be augmented reality because it's using the real world and augmenting that. So that would be AR. And when I refer to AR, that's what I mean. And then there's virtual reality, which is creating an entirely new virtual experience that exists apart from the real world. So this is where you get your VR headsets in, because that is completely, creating a new world beyond any kind of physical world. So you're not seeing your living room when you put your headset on, you're seeing a completely different space. So that's what I mean when I refer to virtual reality, a completely different world. And for those, you would need some kind of headset to experience VR. And then there's the term that we're all, I can't tell if we're tired of hearing about this. We want to hear more about it. I'm not quite sure, but we certainly know artificial intelligence, or AI, by now. And this, as I'm sure you've played around with ChatGPT, this is the simulation of human intelligence through computers and machines. There are a lot of different types of AI. The AI that we're likely familiar with are called GPTs, which are generative pre-trained transformers. These are the, consumer-based AI systems that we're using. And what that does is it kind of guesses human interaction based upon pre-trained data. So data that we're feeding the AI, and then it is simulating, human experience based off of pre-trained data. And your examples of that would be ChatGPT, Google's Bard AI, any kind of thing where you're entering a prompt and you're receiving an output out the other end. So those are the key terms. We're just going to move forward with that and talk a little bit about the XR industry as a whole, just so you get an idea of how fast this technology is growing and why it's important that we accept this tech into our daily lives, into our daily jobs, right? Which can be a really difficult thing to grasp. So the growing XR trend is fueled by technical advancements in Wi-Fi, in 5G, in data. Data is getting a lot easier for us to process at scale. So what we can do now with internet is greater than ever before. So if we saw a holdup in the XR market or in VR, if the promise of the 2010s didn't come to fruition, a lot of that can be explained by a lack of technological ability on a Wi-Fi level, because it processes so much data. But we're seeing that data kind of catch up to what maybe the promise of VR was. And the global XR market is $131 billion. This was back in 2023. And we expect it to grow to $1,706.96 billion by 2032. So you're going to see this huge adoption of XR by 2032 to a level that's just hard for us to comprehend at this moment. With the consumer, at the consumer level, so people, us, our purchasing is likely to surpass $50 billion by 2030. So that's on, us going to the store and buying a VR headset versus, the entire market as a whole. But what we can see is, for example, on this chart, just this staggering growth in the near future. So it's really showing us that this is technology of tomorrow. It's not the thing that came and went. We can see an uptick coming in the not so distant future. So it's certainly something that we're going to want to embrace in the near future. And then we're going to quickly talk about AI because I feel like perhaps in 2023 we were sold on the vision of it just taking all of our jobs, right? We didn't have to do anything. We just sit back, relax, tell ChatGPT to do all my work and just sit back. But it didn't really work that way, right? I mean, that really wasn't what it's or it was capable of at the time, and certainly not now either. Um, but that was never what AI promised, right? That so let's look at this chart by Sequoia Capital, which shows where AI has been from pre-2020 onwards to 2030, and where we predict AI landing in terms of what it's able to do. So we could see back in 2023, it's able to do decent vertical fine tuning. It could, integrate with more coding languages. By 2025, we could see, like, for example, you might have used ChatGPT and not like the way it writes. Well, it's still not at that level where it could reach or surpass the human experience. Remember, humans are so good at understanding what is human and what is not. We're masters of this. And AI has not reached that breaking point where it can outperform human beings or pretend, to be a human being. And we don't expect that to be the case till beyond 2030, right? But just because it hasn't reached that point doesn't mean it's falling behind or it's not performing up to standard. It has a long way to go, but there's still a lot of ways that we can integrate into our current workforce, and particularly how we can use it in education and to help students. But that's a quick history or background of AI and where it kind of sits today. And that's kind of in this in-between point between 2023 and 2025. You might notice it can do some tasks really well, some tasks not so well, but that's kind of where it's resting. So with all the background out of the way, let's jump into ways that you could use virtual tours, AR, XR, AI right now to help yourselves, to help your students. And we're going to start that off with talking a little bit about Campus 360 and a little bit about what we do. Now, this is a completely free tool that we give to folks looking to apply to colleges, people who are looking to get a better grasp of what's around them. And essentially what Campus 360 is, it's a free, completely free, no login required, all-in-one hub that has all virtual tours around the world in one centralized place. So instead of having to navigate to websites here, there to find a virtual tour, it's an all-in-one hub. You could see what tours are popular right now with other students. You have sort of a plethora of options all in this one solution. There's a search bar. There are a lot of different options in terms of how to navigate for colleges. So what this means for counselors is, it can be hard for students to get excited about applying to colleges if they don't really know what they're looking at. It's sort of this amorphous thing of applying to college. What is college? It's this thing I've been told about since I was a kid, and now I'm in the point where it's happening. Right now, I'm applying to colleges. And to be honest, as a former student, I remember just a lot of paperwork. I don't remember a lot of visualization. And I think if I had that visualization, it really would have got me more excited about the process itself. So I think that that's why a tool like Campus 360 can be really helpful because we've all seen virtual tours before, but where it's in a all-in-one system where you don't have to navigate across websites, we're just all there for you. I mean, this is something that's a little different than what we're used to. And that's what kind of Campus 360 offers. It's an easy way to search for virtual tours. And I'll dig into Campus 360 in 1 second. But like I said before, it's just all your virtual tours all in one place with the ability to favorite your own universities. So if you're a student or a counselor or anyone in education who wants to show a virtual tour or a series of virtual tours to your students, you're able to do that all in one little hub, right? You don't need to navigate to various different websites. It's all right there for you. So I'm just going to briefly show you what Campus 360 can do. So hopefully all of you can see my screen. But this is the Campus 360 platform, as you can see here. So you can see top featured universities that are popular right now. This is GWUC's. So I just click on the university and I'm right here. I can navigate through this navigation menu to all the different areas of the campus. So let's say I'm really interested in, it is the School of Engineering. So if there's a section of engineering that I'm interested, I can see what their labs look like just in a very easy way. with anchor links to their website that are available as well. Um, so that's sort of what the process of looking through Campus 360 looks like. Now, if I wanted to save that university, let's say I really liked it, I just hit the star button. Now, this is where making an account is required, but it's very easy. It's no fuss. So you just log in with your Google account or your Gmail or email account, and then a profile is made for you. We don't send you a bunch of emails or anything like that. It's just for it's the only way that you could keep track of all your tours if that's what you want to do. But in that case, you just make a really quick and easy account. Again, all of this is completely free. And you could see we hearted GWCs, and it's right there along with any other tours that I have. Yeah, so that is the Campus 360 platform as it stands, just kind of this all-in-one solution that you could be using and that we encourage you to send over to your students as they begin or are in the midst right now in their college search journeys. They might have narrowed down their searches to, maybe their top 10 colleges. And then you can say, hey, favorite them on Campus 360 and have a real look at what you can imagine your life to be like in less than a year from now or in a year from now, right? And there are a lot of features that you're used to with all virtual tours, interactive menus, drop downs, that sort of thing to just keep it engaging for your users. We also, as well as being the hub for virtual tours, we make virtual tours as well for universities. So we know what it's like to actually create an engaging virtual tour experience. So that's what we're all about with, a slurry of high quality and interactive features as well. But perhaps the most exciting thing is, as a company that preaches, the promise of VR, as you heard me talking about earlier, um, there is still that disconnect, even looking on your desktop with a virtual tour, any kind of virtual tour online. There still is that disconnect because you're still looking at a screen. It's obviously better than a video. It's better than just seeing pictures, of course, but there's still that disconnect that makes it kind of difficult to see something, to really feel like you're there. So what we've been working hard on is creating a Campus 360 VR application. Again, this is completely free. It is now available on the Meta Quest store. It works the exact same as Campus 360 itself with the same navigation menus and so forth. It just exists completely on the headset. So we're going to watch a quick trailer. It's a quick 1 minute trailer about what this VR application has in store. And excellent. All right, we're back. So that's kind of a glimpse of what the app offers. I encourage you, if you have a VR headset, to go ahead and try and install it. It's completely free and it's on the Meta App Store. So you could put apps on your Meta devices via desktop, or you could just plop your headset on and search for it right in the store and will show up there free to download and experience tours in VR. And the difference there being is you actually feel like you are in the space that you have been researching in the case you're a student. You could actually plop yourself in the tour in virtual reality. We are the only company that's offering a way or a hub for virtual tour experiences in VR. So we encourage you to take a look there. Or if you're a counselor with a little bit of with a little bit of a surplus in the budget, what could be a possibility is throwing down the investment for a Quest 2, which isn't very expensive. It's about $200, or a Quest 3 or a Quest Pro is compatible with all three of those devices. And Then for students who might be on the fence about a tour or might be on the fence about a university that they're looking at, and they might not have the availability to tour whatever campus they want. I certainly didn't have that ability when I was in high school, and I certainly would have liked something like this, where maybe I could just go to my counselor's office, say, "Hey, I'm really interested in looking at GWUCs," and then them being say, "Hold on, wait a minute," loading up the tour for me and me being able to just experience it in real time. I think that that would actually be a really valuable tool for students moving forward, or just sending them. I'm sure a lot of students at this point have VR headsets as well. So this tool is kind of just out there for free for them and for you guys to just get a better, real grasp of what is waiting for you on campus. Um, Great. So yeah, then this is just some more information on where you can access the Campus 360 VR application. Again, it's just on the Meta App Store, which if you have a VR device, pretty intuitive. You just look it up, Campus 360, and will show up right there completely free. Now we will transition over to various different tools for students, counselors, educators, teachers, for all of you, to help you streamline whatever process that needs streamlining, really. Um, because I've been there. Something, a new emerging technology is amongst us. What do we do? Do we fight? Do we flight? What's the response here? I can understand dismissing technology as a whole when it seems like it's really kind of in your face and scary, especially in education, where I mean we really don't want to recommend to our students ChatGPT for hallucinatory reasons and the way that it can sometimes make up information. So I understand wanting to just shut the book and reject it immediately in a flight scenario here. Um, but of course, that's not what we're going to do. We are going to adapt, right? We're going to adapt with this technology and discover how we can use it to our benefit, how we can grow with this technology, because it's going to be here, right? It's going to be here for the foreseeable future. AI is not going anywhere. Artificial intelligence is not going anywhere. So instead of shutting the book to it completely, it's how can we use it responsibly? How can we administer it into classrooms so that students are using it responsibly, to equip them with the technology of tomorrow, because it is not going anywhere. And with that, I just want to dive briefly into an AI timeline, just so you get an idea that this technology is not new. It's been here since the 1950s, right? We've had AI from 1950s onward and upward. You guys might remember Deep Blue when IBM, an AI system, beat Gary Kasparov at chess, all the way through to our Alexa devices through AlphaGo. So these things are, see, now my Alexa is going off in the corner. These devices are not new. Therefore, we shouldn't be afraid of it. It's been a long road up to this point. Now it's just kind of entered a consumer era where it's a consumer product that we can kind of harness and use. But it's by no means a new technology. And that being said, I'm sure a lot of you have used ChatGPT at this point or some kind of AI system. I mean, maybe write in the chat which ones you're familiar with, which ones you're using. And you might not have been very impressed by it. Maybe you've asked it to do a task for you and you thought it didn't perform very well. And that wouldn't be unreasonable. I've certainly had my frustrations with generative AI as well. And part of that is because in 2023, it was oversold by the companies themselves, by OpenAI, by Google, and by the media. The media kind of overhyped the promise of AI into it being here now. AGI is here. It's already adapted to human levels of proficiency, which obviously is not true because we've used it and we've noticed that it's not the case. But let's take a look at this hype cycle really quick and see where generative AI lands. Currently, we are on the peak of inflated expectations where it is not performing to the level that the media or the hype has said it would. And there is a long road before it reaches a point of extreme productivity, where it reaches that point of expectations being met. We're probably nearing the trough of disillusionment, in my opinion, if you ask me. But there's still a long way to go. And just because the expectations have been oversold, that doesn't mean they're not still incredibly useful or we should push them away, because there are a lot of tools in education right now that we could be using And that being said, I'm gonna start with ChatGPT. It doesn't require a ton of diving into. I'm sure all of you have used it, but I think it applies to any kind of GPT or AI that requires input. So let's use this example of writing a short follow-up email to a prospective student I met at a college fair. You can see that this email generates immediately because that's what GPT does. It's basically just trying to give answers as quick as possible, which doesn't always mean that it's giving you the best answer when you ask for it, right? It's just there and programmed to give you an answer. So let's say you're using GPT and you ask it this question for a follow-up email, and it doesn't give you the answer you write. You're like, I can write that in a minute. I'm just going to write it myself. And you never use ChatGPT again. Well, I implore you to instead, with my favorite thing about AI and generative AI is that you can ask follow-up responses. And it refers to that context. You're kind of training your own AI system the more you use it. So my recommendation, instead of closing the tab, would be to ask a follow-up and provide more detail. Similarly to how you would have to provide more detail if there was someone training in your office. You know, they wouldn't know how to write the perfect email to a student. They would need to look at the way you write emails, or they would need more input from you. AI is weirdly the exact same thing because it's made to learn with the same neural network that human beings have. So I implore you guys, as you are maybe after this webinar, if you use ChatGPT today, to ask follow-up questions, because well-written responses from GPT go hand in hand with good inputs. And that leads us to tools that you can use that are a little bit more tailored. So this is beyond ChatGPT. This one is called Panda AI. You might notice the Campus 360 logo. That's because, yes, we did make it ourselves for you all. Panda AI is a trained and tailored AI system. So unlike ChatGPT, which is kind of this widespread, all-inclusive, all-in-one AI that is just supposed to encompass everything everywhere, which can seem a little daunting. Panda AI is trained specifically on the NACAT Guide to College Admission. So it is trained specifically to help students with their application journey. So they can ask Panda AI on, you can see in this GIF, some advice on applying to colleges. It can provide a response. It can, and it'll actually ask questions. Would you like to know more about, the appropriate application decision plan? And it'll provide an answer on what that is. So it's trained specifically to give students answers to the college applications journey. So if you're currently a college counselor, I'm sure you're responding to so many emails a day, especially during this time of year of students panicking about their college admissions journeys. And of course, you're still going to need to be there. This is not by any means replacing you, but in the same way that, if you have a problem with your Amazon order, you can talk to the bot. Oh, I'm seeing a chat and paint. Is Panda AI only trained to give information about U.S. colleges and universities? So it's trained specifically on the NACAT Guide to College Admissions, which I think primarily encompasses U.S. universities. We would certainly be open to training it on, world to more of a worldwide scope. In fact, send me we'll get in touch, send me an email and let me know what you're looking for, and I'll see how I can help with that. But students can query Panda AI for, like I said, detailed information. It offers assistance with applications. With college applications, it can provide mock interviews to students. So you can say, hey, I want to do a mock interview for, we've been talking about GWU. So for GWU, and it'll suck in that knowledge that it might have been given about, a particular program, and it'll be able to provide that mock interview for students. So it's just basically there for students and to hopefully help you all with, I'm sure the influx of messages you are all getting in your emails 24 hours a day, I'm sure at this point. And yeah, so for Panda AI, if you guys are interested in using it, please feel free to get in touch with me, and I could send you the beta testing link for that AI system. And we're going to move over to something that I really like, called Perplexity.ai. I think the trouble with recommending AI to students is because as educators, we train ourselves that sources matter, transparency matters, and real sources matter. I mean, that's from what I remember in school, like the main thing was how to identify what is a good source and what is not a good source. And with AI, and particularly with ChatGPT or something like that, you're unable to identify what the sources are. So you don't really know what you're being given So it's hard, therefore, as an educator, I'm sure, to recommend something like GPT to students for that reason, which is why I like Perplexity.ai. Again, they have a free tier. So you can ask questions similarly to how you would in GPT, and it'll give you a response exactly like GPT would, but it'll provide these sources along with the answers. So it'll give one, two, three, four, five, six, but it'll provide a slurry of sources on how it got to those answers. So I think that this could still be recommended to a student, even if information might not be accurate, because AI isn't always going to be accurate the same way I'm not always going to be accurate. Um, but students can now identify the sources that they're being told to fact check their responses. So this is still a tool to expedite, any kind of task, whether it's an assignment or anything that they're looking to do, or in the case of college admissions, like they're looking for the best colleges for a program of their interest. They're now being given sources so they can see, well, number three is Reddit. I don't think I should be listening to that. Or it'll hopefully implore people to spend more time instead of less time. I think in the age of Google, we just don't really spend any time looking at our sources. My hope with something like this is it'll implore us to actually, you know, um, look into sources with greater detail. From an education perspective, I think it's a great lesson in the sense that AI's here. We have to use it because it's growing, and we're either going to be left behind or get on the train. But in terms of education, how can we still kind of uphold our principles? And I think with a tool like this, you can still implore people to fact check their sources. And you can actually scrutinize students who are using AI and say, hey, you're allowed to use this, but we are going to, you need to double and triple check your sources and the information that you're being given. So that's Perplexity.ai. I think it's a great tool. And I encourage all of you to explore all of these. One or all of them might not be for you, but I think at least one or two of them might be. And we'll go to another tool called ClassPoint.io. I really like ClassPoint.io because it is like we spend a lot of time, I'm sure, or I remember in school, a lot of quizzes or, interactive elements being integrated into PowerPoints or presentations. And with ClassPoint.io, there's just a whole host, a whole suite of different tools that you can integrate directly into your PowerPoint, right? So you don't need to install any kind of clunky app. It's directly into your PowerPoint that it integrates in, and it'll generate quizzes based on the slides that you already have pre-written. So it's not going to make up information or make up quizzes because it's taken directly from your own PowerPoint presentations. And it does things beyond quizzes, though I think quizzes are very valuable for student engagement because it's a back and forth between teachers. This kind of takes it to another level because you could have, one or two quizzes is kind of a lot of work to make per PowerPoint. And this, you could have them all throughout your presentation. And what that does is it makes sure that students are actually interacting with your material. And it's created by you. So the student isn't making any of this. It's you harnessing the power of AI to help with your work and help with student engagement and interaction. And Knowledge.io is kind of the next step of that. And there's a free tier. The caveat here is there's an element of it that isn't free. But if it's something that would be incredibly valuable to you, I encourage you to see how that, whether or not the cost benefit of using it as a service would, benefit how convenient it would be. But basically how this works is sometimes you have a lesson that you really want to use, or in the case of college admissions, like, you really want to make this journey for them exciting and interesting, but there are only like so many ways to make a pamphlet exciting for students or make, any kind of description exciting for students. So what knowledge.io is you can upload that pamphlet. You could literally just upload a PDF and it'll make instantly quizzes, fill in the blank exercises, interactive video. It'll actually generate videos based off of a PDF document or based off of pre-trained information. So it takes kind of classpoint.io and it kind of just pushes it to a whole different level. If you've ever, like in the way that Canvas textbooks have a bunch of assignments related to, the textbook itself, you're able to essentially generate that with your own lesson plan. So you can do that yourself. So you can cater lessons a lot more specifically. and you could structure them in a way that would be appropriate for, a student lesson. And the great part is they're fully compatible with Moodle, Canvas, Google Classroom, pretty much every educational platform your school might use. So I felt like it was worth it. And there's a free tier available. I think it supports up to like a certain number of students. So I would encourage you all to look at that. But that being said, we're going to dive into, I think, maybe my favorite AI tool. Perhaps you guys might be using it. I'd actually be curious if you guys are familiar with magicschool.ai, which I think is an incredibly powerful tool for a couple reasons. One, I think the work that they're doing is amazing. On another level, I think it is signifying why AI shouldn't be so scary for people in education. And let me explain. Because it's over 70 AI tools and it does a slurry of different things. It's an easy to use interface, but it is basically uh, like if ChatGPT was made for teachers and educators in the sense that where you as the educators are the developers. And I'll explain what that means. You could see here in this photo that you have a ton of different tools to choose from. You could provide report card comments. You could upload a YouTube video and receive, questions for, a follow-up quiz. You could generate rubrics for assignments based on this. So there are a lot of tools that teachers can use, but there are also tools for students to use within magicschool.ai. So within Magic School, you can have an entire kind of AI classroom, which I'm sure I hope no one's cringing at that thought, but it's actually really cool, where you can facilitate a lesson plan. So similarly to the other AI systems I was showing you, you upload your lesson plan, or you provide prompts for your lesson plan, and you can invite students to your classroom. So on their, if you use tablets or compute or laptops, you invite them, send them the link, they join your classroom, and you could experience a whole different lesson through Magic School. They have custom chatbots, so you could have someone who can talk to students on a one-on-one basis about the lesson material. It won't, and it's made for students and it's made for educators, so it's not going to do any work for students. It's made specifically to help kids learn more about whatever their lesson plan might be. I think a really useful tool also is, as I mentioned, the rubric generator, where you can input the grade level. You could put what you want the objective to be, what you want the assignment to be, and it'll generate a full-fledged rubric with a point scale. I mean, it's really a powerful tool. I recommend you all look into magicschool.ai because it's really kind of taking the world, especially in education, by storm. And I think it's really showing educators and people in education that AI is something that we should embrace because I think over 80% of people who use magicschool.ai save like over 10 hours a week. Like it's an unbelievable amount of time. So I encourage you all to look into it because it's specifically tailored for people in education. So that is kind of all I have in store for us. It's 9:34. Um, so I'm open to any questions that you guys might have about kind of today. But I appreciate you all kind of being here. Yeah, I'll just kind of open the floor for a minute or two with any questions anyone might have about maybe any of the technology you saw. Um, or you could follow up at my email, aaron@campusxr.org. But yeah, any questions? All right, I'll maybe wait another 30 seconds before adjourning, but it doesn't seem like there are any questions in mind. Again, if there's any interest in the Panda AI system, please feel free to reach out to me or Jen. I'll reach out to you specifically to see maybe a little bit more about what you're looking for and how I can help. Um, but if anyone's interested in kind of the slides or a copy of the presentation, I'm happy to share that. And all right, I don't think there are any questions, which is never a bad thing, right? Excellent. Right. So yeah, that's kind of the presentation for today. I want to thank everybody here for kind of joining us today. Again, my name is Aaron Klein. I'm with CampusXR. If you have any questions, again, whether they come up now or later, feel free to email me at aaron@campusxr.org. Thank you so much for joining me today. Oh, I'm seeing a chat here. That was great. Thank you. Well, thank you for joining us, Rachel. Everyone, I hope you have a good one, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much.